Today you'll see two dolman sleeve tops that have a lot of variations with the neckline and the sleeves. Beautiful fit. I'm excited to share my two versions. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and today I have a brand new pattern release to share with you from Sinclair Patterns. This is called the Alva top, and I was immediately drawn in when I saw the line art. I always love a dolman sleeve top. I have nothing against them. I'm very realistic about the fit of them and how they are expected to fit. So knowing that that is how they fit, I just really enjoy them. Not everything has to be super tailored and things. They're very easy to sew and easy to wear usually. So I like them. But then I saw the little collar on one of the options and I thought that is so cute. So I decided to join the pattern test and I made two versions. The neckline is rounded. You can either finish that with a binding on its own, or you can sew on a collar on the top and then use the same binding technique and put it to the inside. So that's how that's finished. It does take a bit of time to do the collar and the binding, but it's very worth it. You can either hem the sleeve normally, just fold up and hem. You can add a cuff or you can add a little ruffle. I've actually done the cuff and the ruffle with both of my versions. None of mine have the regular hem. It's an easy fit, you know, you pull it on over your head. Nothing's tight around here. It's not super boxy either. You have lengths to choose from as well, a shorter one, a longer one. I've done shorter options because it's just my personal preference. You have bust studs here depending on the cup size that you're choosing, because there are cup sizes here, so that is really good. Because the Alva top is brand new at Sinclair Patterns, it'll be 27% off through Sunday the 23rd of March. It's probably going to be on sale a little longer than that if I know Sinclair Patterns a little bit. Sales always extend a bit. I'll leave you all the information below in the description box as well as the top of the comment section so it's easy for you to find. You'll see my affiliate link. If you end up clicking there, it'll end up directly at the website where the Alva top is. If you do purchase, I do receive a small commission back from the designer. It is one of the ways I create an income for doing all this work that you can enjoy here on YouTube without any cost. So if you support my work that way, I'm super grateful. Light to medium weight fabrics. You don't need your fabric to drape for this design unless you're doing the ruffles. I would not be too happy with doing the ruffles in a structured fabric, but that's just my personal preference here. You can use lightweight structured fabrics like cotton lawn, poplin, seersucker, linen and linen blends, linen cotton blends, linen rayon blends, that type of fabric. Or you can go a little flowier and choose rayon twill, tencel twill, 100% rayon linen blends, that type of fabric. My fabric choices are on the flowy side, and it's a personal preference of how they feel on the body. You'll see that I don't sew many structured fabrics. I do occasionally, but I tend to lean towards the rayons. I'm a fan. I really like how it feels and how it looks. So I've got one in a rayon linen blend, rayon 87%, 13% linen, and the other one is 100% rayon twill. Both I would say light to medium weight fabrics. They're not light. I wouldn't say they're medium. They're like in the middle. They have really nice drape and they were easy to work with. You need a little bit of fusible interfacing if you're doing the collar option, because one of the layers of the collar is interfaced and the other one isn't. Otherwise, no special notions required over here. If you find the content on this channel super helpful for your sewing, make sure you tap on the like button before you leave this video. It's super important for me and to help this channel grow. Thank you so much. For sizing, it's really great from 0 to 30 US up to a 63-inch hip. And if you've sewn Sinclair patterns before, you know that first you choose the height file. That makes a huge difference in the fit. You have petite, regular, and tall files first. Choose that according to your size and then go and check your circumferences and plot them down on the measurements chart. You have an amazing result. There's cup sizes A and B, then cup sizes C and D, E and F. Those have a bust out on the side. I think that's really cool. Same, measure your full bust, measure your high bust, figure out the difference, and you'll see what your sewing cup size is and how to fit that into your size selection. It's not the same as your bra, so don't look at what you're wearing in your bra to choose sewing a bust cup sizes, because it's not the same thing. For the ease, at around the bust you have about 3.5 inches, which is a nice amount of ease, very comfortable. Then you have a lot of space at the waist, and then at the hips around 4 to 6 depending on the size that you choose. What have I done? Very easy. I just plot my measurements. I'm a size 14 right now with the tall file. I made 0 changes, 0. Even the bust that was correctly placed for me at this point in time. Measured myself, it has changed a little bit, and measured the pattern, it was all good. So what I say about personal fitting was a very good experience, no changes at all. Basically printed it, cut it out, made it, sewed it, and I'm happy. So that is always amazing. For sewing, I'm going to show you general construction, what you would do with all of the tops. It doesn't matter what options you're choosing. You're going to do a lot of general steps before you get to sewing that neckline. And I'm going to show you how to sew the ruffle, super easy. And then the main focus is going to be on that gorgeous collar right there. It's so, so pretty. So let's see. This is general construction here for the Alva top. This is the back, this is the front. Both pieces are cut on the fold. The first thing I did was stay stitch the neckline. We're going to use binding, so I kept my stay stitching really narrow at 1/4 inch. Sewed my shoulders. I have already serged all the edges as well, just to make it all easy. I'm doing a CD bust cap size option. I do have a bust start right there. Those have been sewn. I'm going to focus now on doing the neckline binding. That's easy. Then I'm going to sew the side seams. Once those side seams are sewn, I'm going to have a completed end of the dolman sleeve. And that's where I'm going to attach this ruffle, which is a rectangle. So that's what's going on with the Alva top. It's super simple. Here is my binding piece. I'm going to go ahead and bind it right now. This is one of the ruffle pieces. It was only a rectangle. I serged the short ends. I sewed that together, pressed it open, and then I hemmed one of the sides, doesn't matter which one, 5/8 seam allowance, and I've already sewn that. Then on the top, we have 2 rows of gathering stitches all along the top right here, and this is what we're going to sew onto the sleeve. I've put a pin to mark the middle there of the ruffle so I can match it to the middle part of the sleeve. And on this side, I've got the ruffle already on the edge of the dolman sleeve right there. So I've matched the seam of the ruffle to the seam, the side seams right there. Gathered everything, pinned it all the way around, and now I'm going to sew that. And then it's going to end up looking like that. I think it's super cute. For the Alva top, you can sew a regular rounded neckline with a binding, or you can sew a collar. This is the collar piece right there. It's supposed to be cut on the fold, but I put extra paper and extended it so that I can cut it extended. When it's extended, I can block fuse. I've got the interface layer of fabric here on the top, and on the bottom I have the non-interfaced layer. And I'm going to cut this out together so that both pieces end up exactly the same size and shape and nothing distorts here. This is a type of pattern piece that has a shape that I would only want to cut with a rotary cutter. There's just so many curves here. If I was slightly raising the fabric to cut it with the scissors, I know I would get a distorted shape. Okay, there it is. I've got both collar pieces together. Actually, while it's still on the table, I'm going to pin these layers together so that it's easier for them not to lose their shape. What we're going to be sewing is the outer edge right here, and we're going to be leaving the inner edge raw to flip it over. So while it's nice and flat here, I'm going to pin what I'm going to sew. I've got the interface layer on top, and that's how I'm going to sew it. Interface layer is more stable than the layer underneath that doesn't have interfacing. Now I'm sewing these outer edges together. The seam allowance is quite big. I wish it was smaller. It would be easier to manage at 3/8, but the seam allowance is 5/8, so that's what I'm doing. Just being really, really careful with it because it's hard to control such a huge seam allowance. Because of the seam allowance, I decided to hand baste these edges so that I didn't have to deal with pins, just one thing less, and just focus more on the seam allowance. After sewing that seam, I took away the basting stitch and I trimmed away. It was too much to leave 5/8 in there, so trimmed it to about half. And on these curved areas right here, I'm going to take little notches so that it's less bulky when we flip this to the other side. It's like taking little bits like that, and I'm going to do that all around this curved area. Quite a lot actually. I'll take my time doing that. Okay, there I've taken little notches all around the collar. That's something extra I like to do. And now we're just going to flip it to the other side. Being careful, I don't want to really stretch that out as much. So I'm going to be gentle. I'm going to take my time to flip this, press it, and then I'm going to baste the raw edges together along here so that the collar can act as one piece. Here is the collar all pretty, all turned in. I've pressed it. Now, this is the interface side, the side that's smooth. It's going to be on the outside, and the non-interface side is under here. And I worked with my fingers to roll the seam a little bit towards the side that's not going to be seen while I was hand basting this. There's no other way I could get it that neat directly at the iron. So I hand basted everything all around before pressing it actually. And then this raw section, I've hand basted it together just to keep it in place and act as one piece. I have put a pin there at the center back, and then this will reach the middle in the center front over there. I've put together my top, shoulder seam, stay stitching. I've done bust studs right there. And I've also divided and put pins there to mark the center front and the center back. Now I'm going to do this in stages. I'm going to baste the collar onto the neckline first, and then I'm going to deal with the binding instead of doing it all in one go. So this is the front over here. So I'm going to bring the front of the collar and align it there to the pins right there. And then I'm going to keep going around until this matches. It should match 1-to-1 all the way around. That's why stay stitching the neckline was important at the beginning, and I have already done that. So that's going to match together right there. And then the center backs are going to match over here. So I'm going to pin it, make it super neat, and then I'm going to baste all around it. Okay, the collar fit perfectly around the neckline. I did hand baste it instead of doing it by machine. I'm doing it quite away from where I'm going to be sewing later, so this can come off easily. Now in the center of this neckline, right at about 1/4 of an inch in, I did some hand tacking there with navy thread to keep it together so it doesn't separate. That's important. That's what I'm doing so I don't end up with a little gap in between. I think that would not look cool. Now, the second stage that I'm going to do now is finish this with the binding. This is the same way you would do the binding if you were doing the regular neckline. The binding is going to go to the inside, but in this case, it's going to also catch this collar. So I'm just going to put my binding here on the edge. I cut it a little longer than the piece just so I have enough in case I need to trim off. So now I'm just going to start pinning this all the way around the neckline, right sides together with the collar. And then we're going to sew all these layers together finally with a machine using 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Then all of this binding is going to go to the inside, taking that collar seam allowance with it. And we're going to get a really nice finish. Here I am sewing the binding onto the neckline all around using 3/8 seam allowance. I'm actually using pins here. I feel this is quite stable and nothing's moving around everywhere. I'm happy the collar is staying in place because I hand basted that to the neckline before. So I'm quite happy just doing this with pins, just being careful to keep all the raw edges together. After doing that, I'm going to trim the seam allowance down. It's a little bit big to leave in there. And after trimming, of course, we're going to do some snips. This binding is going to go all the way to the inside, so you really do need to relieve the pressure here of all the curved areas of the neckline and collar. Now that the binding is on and the snips have been done, we need to extend this binding, have all the seam allowance underneath the binding right here, and understitch. I'm going to sew right there on the edge. This is another presser foot. This has an L on it. It's also a type of blind hem presser foot, but different. When you move this, it moves this edge in or out, so you can actually get whatever seam allowance you want, and it's really helpful. I've set it here to about 1/8 of an inch. I've taken my time, I've pushed the binding all the way to the inside, folded the edge
underneath and then hand basted it all the way around. You can see the neckline is nice and clean. This is how it's going to look like on the right side. So the collar is going to cover that. You're not going to see the binding. It's going to be totally on the inside. We need to top stitch that down. So that's the last step of the neckline. Remember, if you're doing the binding without the collar, the process is the same. It's just that I've got a collar in here and you're supposed to leave the collar free right here while I was doing the hand basting. So it's just on this other side. Make sure you're always holding it so you don't catch it.
This is the first one I made. It's a houndstooth print, very nice rayon linen blend. Now, I didn't show you how to sew the binding. I actually went a bit rogue in relation to the instructions, because in the instructions you would have the binding go all the way inside, like you saw when I showed you the collar construction with the binding. That's how you sew the binding here. But I thought the contrasting houndstooth there would look really cool. So I sewed my binding in the way that you wrap around the raw edge. So there's exposed binding there on the inside and on the outside. It's just a little different technique. It's basically almost the same thing. I will leave you a video here where I show you how to sew binding in different ways, on the inside, on the outside, exposed, all sorts of things. I have a full detailed video about that. So that's how I sewed this one. Also how I like joining them right here on the 45-degree angle. That's how I like doing it. So that was something I did off camera. And then here's a little ruffle that you saw me sew. Very cute. It extends the length of the dolman sleeve, which I think a lot of people would like. And it's so delicate, so cute. And I love that distortion of the houndstooth print right there. You can barely see my basta. Yeah, you can see it because the houndstooth goes funny right there. That's fine. And the front and the back is cut on the fold. I did a very simple hem. This is a little shorter than the original pattern just because I wanted it a tad shorter. So yeah, let's see this one on. It's so nice to just throw on. It's so pretty, and I think this is classic. I know I'm going to enjoy it for many years to come.
This is my first Alva top from Sinclair Patterns. This is a rayon linen blend, very small amount of linen in the blend in a houndstooth print. I've sewn a size 14 toe file and I like this length at the mid hip. The original length of the top will be 1 or 2 inches longer. 0 changes to the feet, and there are bust stats here. I have the CD cup option. There's also an AB and an EF if you have a smaller or a larger bust cup size. The position of that dot was perfect. I did not have to change anything, and I did sew on little ruffles to the end of the dolman sleeves. It is one of the options, or you can sew it normally or add a cuff, but I think those ruffles are cute. The depth of this neckline is perfect. It's below my clavicle. I don't feel it. It's perfectly placed between a high and a low neckline. I'd say this is a mid neckline, and the binding was easy to sew. Very easy construction here, very relaxing sew. I'm very happy with the feet. I love those bust dots on the sides because you have a smooth fall of the fabric there. So I'm super happy with this dolman sleeve top. I am a fan of dolman sleeves. You make this design shine with the fabric. If you have amazing fabric, there's not many seam lines here. And now I've got my Alva top paired with a stretched scuba suede pencil skirt, little sandal. I would actually go to church in an outfit like this, super relaxed, super nice. I feel like I can dress it up a little bit. And the top is special enough to pull off without the basic garments and accessories. He loved the combination of the white, black and the tan. I think it looks super cute. Here's my Alva top with fitted denim jeans in white, flares on the bottom, a little bit of a flare going on, fitted waist and hips. I think this length of the top is perfect for this type of pant. I really like it. The amount of ease is very comfortable, and I just love black and white together. I think it's classic. I could walk out in an outfit like this for years to come and feel very good. Those ruffles are so cute. Love those.
Now for my second one, I knew I wanted to sew that collar. I had so much trouble settling on the fabric because I really wanted to sew a print. But then I kept thinking, if I sew the collar with the print, you're not going to see it. But then in my head, I was saying, you're still going to see it. You still need to sew the print that you want to sew. So I did choose to sew the whole thing in a print. I really couldn't find an exact color to contrast that collar, and it would have just looked really strange. So I just went with the print all the way through. So yeah, I did the collar with the print. I couldn't find any color in that tone or the exact same of navy to do this in a contrast. It would have just looked super strange. So I think you can still see it in my life. You can see it with my eyes. Other people are going to be able to see it, but the collar is very nice. It lies super smooth here on the shoulders. All the precautions I took to keep it from stretching out really paid off, and it's really, really pretty. Right there, there's the binding on the inside. I just wished we used a smaller seam allowance to sew all this neckline collar area because it was so hard for me to sew that 5/8 seam allowance. I had to really concentrate because it's not a seam allowance I'm accustomed to sewing, and doing it around curves, yeah, it's a little harder than using smaller seam allowances. But oh well, there we go. It looks really nice, really pretty. I went with the cuffs as well for the reason that my inside here is white. So if I would have just hemmed it normally, there would have been a chance that you would see the inside of the fabric when I move around and wear my garment. Wanted to avoid that, so the cuff prevents that because then you get that blue on the inside too, and it also extends the length of the sleeve, which is I think what a lot of people want as well. I wear a lot of sleeveless, but I like the longer dolman sleeve too. Here you can barely see the bust-out. It's a very nice top. You know, the general construction took no time at all. It was just the collar that took a little extra work and a little extra tender loving care, TLC. So I'm glad I took the time, and I can't wait to wear this one out. I think it's super pretty. If you are a long-time watcher of my channel, I did sew a dress using this last year, also from Sinclair Patterns. Beautiful dress, and I had a little bit left over, so I really wanted to use it, and I'm glad I have a top now. I don't mind having different garments in the same print if I love the print, and I love this print. So let's see it on.
This is my second Alva top from Sinclair Patterns. This is a size 14 toe file with a CD bust cup size also. This is a Rayon twill in a print. I think is really nice. I like this length a little bit shorter so I can wear it with a skirt like this one. This is a Sky, also from Sinclair Patterns. It's got a nice amount of volume, but it's fitted at the waist and hips, and that's why I think these two silhouettes can go together without needing me to tuck in. The original length of the top will be 1 or 2 inches longer, but I like it like this. Again, my bust-out fits perfectly. At the end of the sleeve, I have a cuff so it can make the sleeve a little longer. It's part of the pattern, and you can see how flat and beautiful this collar lies there on the neckline. It was really fun to sew. I really enjoyed that one, and the collar sits beautifully. It's finished with the binding on the inside. Such a nice option for this pattern, which is not easy to find. It's really delicate, and it adds something special to it. Of course, if I had a solid, you see it a bit more. I can see it very well in the print, and I'm quite happy with my fabric choice here. This was such a fun project to make. I really love it, and my favorite was that collar. That's what drew me in on the liner, that made me decide to sew this pattern. I just love it so much. So cute. I pulled out my caramel pencil skirt again because it goes perfectly with the print of this top. Very subtle, like the color combination here. I kept the sandals navy to bring it from the top, and this is one way I could dress this up a little bit, just make a little bit of an effort and go out looking nice. I think these two color combinations go beautifully together. I mean, that's why it's in the print anyway, because they go together really well. Okay, let's dress this top down a little bit with some shorts. I have them in a matching tone. Sandals with a tiny heel, super comfortable, and I could walk around all day in this one and be very happy. I know the top brings something special to any outfit.
I think you can really show off beautiful prints with this one because there's not many seams that are going to disrupt them. There's no center back seams. So if you have gorgeous prints, go for it. It could be super beautiful. The collar, very nice. Took a long time. It took a while to sew, but I think it's really worth it. Pretty unique. You don't see these collars on a lot of patterns. I think it's very dainty, very feminine. Loved it. So yeah, love my two makes. Highly recommend the pattern. I think you'd enjoy it. You get a lot of wear out of something classic like this. And I recommend head over to Sinclair Patterns and check out the Alva top before the release sale is over. You'll enjoy it, I'm sure. That's all from me. I'll see you again on this channel for more sewing in the very near future. Bye.